So what's it really like living here in New Hampshire in 2025? Because you've probably seen the photos of the lakes, the foliage, hearing about no income tax, all the good stuff, and it looks amazing. But what's it actually like here in New Hampshire in the day-to-day stuff? I'm breaking down the truth of New Hampshire in today's video. I have lived in New Hampshire, born and raised here, lived here my whole life, my whole 27 years of existence, and for the past about 6 years, I've been in Keene, New Hampshire. So I'm going to be breaking down kind of all the things, cost of living, housing, weather, community, and then also touching upon throughout that all the challenges people don't really touch base on, but you should be aware of, especially if you're looking to move here to New Hampshire and make it your home. Hi and welcome to my channel. My name is Shane Moynihan. I'm a local real estate agent and investor based right out of Keene, New Hampshire. If you're looking to buy, sell, or invest in real estate, feel free to reach out to me, or down below in the description, I actually have a link to my calendar where you can book a free 15 or 30-minute call. We'll get on the phone, discuss your goals, questions about New Hampshire, see how I can help you achieve those goals. But without further ado, let's get into what New Hampshire really is like living here and what it would be like for your future. So let's start with the part that everyone gets right. New Hampshire is a beautiful state. We get to experience all 4 seasons, and all the seasons honestly look like a painting when they get taken pictures of or get painted. It's a beautiful state to live in, and people will literally drive hours from other states just to drive through New Hampshire during foliage time because it's so pretty. We also have Mount Monadnock, which is only about 35 minutes away from Keene, and is one of the most hiked mountains in the whole entire world, which is pretty crazy, but it's mainly the proximity to a lot of population that comes up here to hike it, but it's still a pretty cool fact. And then of course we have the White Mountains up north. You have gorgeous lakes, one around here Spofford, or if you go up towards the lake region, there's Winnipesaukee, Sunapee. There's a ton of great lakes up in that region. And some of these small downtowns, especially like Keene, they really have beautiful New England charm, which is just awesome. It's really picturesque and feels like you're in a little Hallmark movie during the winter time. So it's pretty cool. And then outdoor recreation is of course a huge thing here in New Hampshire. You have basically it everywhere. You have hiking, snowshoeing, kayaking, skiing, disc golf, regular golf, snowmobiling, snowboarding, all of it. You got a ton of stuff around here, and it's all within a pretty short drive. No matter really where you are in New Hampshire, you'll be able to have access to these things, because even driving across the whole state, east to west, you're looking at maybe 2 hours. Now, if you're going north to south, that's a little bit more of a haul, but east to west should suffice for all these things you need. Now, here's the part that surprises people in all this super picturesque, pretty lifestyle, is that winters here are really no joke. Like, we do get some bad winters. On average, snowfall is about 60 to 70 inches per year, and that can, of course, get a lot higher if you're up in the mountains with higher elevation. So you'll want to budget in things that you normally wouldn't have to budget into if you don't get snow. So things like snow tires, plowing, make sure you're taking into account that you're gonna have to have higher heating costs because it's freezing cold outside and you're trying to keep your house warm. So if that's oil, propane, or electric, those are kind of our most popular 3 ones around here. And in 2025 right now, heating, depending on what you're going, it's around $3.70 per gallon. So it's not uncommon during the winter months to be spending a couple $100s per month on heating, depending on how old your house is, because there are a ton of old houses up here and not all of them have the new updated insulation that helps keep heating costs low. So make sure you're aware of that. And then also a little thing that is coming up here pretty soon is daylight savings. So you're gonna have a lot shorter of daylight here in New Hampshire. It's usually like, I don't know, I feel like it gets bright around 7 and then gets dark around 4:30 in the really deep parts of winter. So of course that does affect housing because, well, you're not seeing as many houses throughout the winter because it's mainly done on weekends, because after work it's pitch black out. Still can get them done, just a little bit harder. So that's actually a great transition to talk about one of the most important things about moving to New Hampshire if that's what you're looking to do, and that's the cost of housing. So up here in New Hampshire, I'm going to start with Keene. The median home price here in Keene is about $395,000. That has been going down a little bit in the last couple months, but it's still up about 10% year over year compared to last year. Now in Manchester, a little bit more in the middle of the state, you're about $465,000 to $500,000 for a single family, and then if you go all the way east towards the seacoast, you're easily seeing $550,000 to $600,000 out that way. And then, of course, you want to know about property taxes. They are pretty high here in New Hampshire. For example, Keene's rate is around $28 per $1,000 assessed value. So on a $400,000 house, you're looking at about $11,200 a year. Now, that does sound like a huge expense, but it's actually a reason a lot of people move here, because New Hampshire doesn't have state income or state sales tax. So your paycheck, you actually get more out of. You're not paying tax on these little sales things like you do on all the other states. And then you just get hit hard on property taxes. So it's kind of one of those things, a lot of people will take that flip of the coin and just pay higher property taxes to save on the other two. And then, of course, being in New Hampshire, you can still go to Mass where there's more population, more stores, more malls, things like that if you need it. Now, to move from that into the job market, New Hampshire's job market is actually really solid. It's a little bit smaller than a lot of people expect because the unemployment rate has been sitting around 2.5% to 2.7%, which is really great, but your opportunities that are open really depend on what kind of fields you're looking for. So for example, here in Keene, big fields are things like education, healthcare, small businesses, also manufacturing. And it's things like Keene State College, big employer, Cheshire Medical, CNS Grocers, and then there's a couple manufacturing plants down here that are pretty big. Now, if you're looking more Manchester, Nashville, you're going to find more tech, more finance, corporate jobs. And a lot of people over that way honestly still have jobs in Massachusetts that they just commute for and take advantage of being a New Hampshire resident, but keep their higher paying job down in Mass. So if you're a remote worker, like completely remote, New Hampshire is one of the better states for that. And that's why we saw such a spike in home prices during the pandemic, because a lot of people went remote and they moved to this state because it's really great. You get an awesome lifestyle, lower stress, and it's just a really great state. Plus you get reliable internet kind of everywhere because we've gotten fiber optic just about everywhere, which is awesome. And then another thing with New Hampshire is the community and lifestyle is really one of my favorite parts about New Hampshire, especially here in Keene. I moved here right as a young adult, about, I think I was 19. Yeah, 19 years old, I moved here. So I've really been trying, especially over the last couple of years, to become part of the community here. And it's really awesome because you kind of see the same faces everywhere you go. It's a small town feel, but people truly care about seeing the place get better. Like Keene is a very active place with charities and trying to grow a lot of stuff. So we have like a young professional network, community events, and a lot of people who are just wanting to see the area grow because we're kind of the forgotten corner of New Hampshire. So it's definitely cool to see that. And one thing I do want to say is, like, if you're used to big city convenience, big city feel where it's just a fast pace of life, it might be quiet here in New Hampshire. Even if you move to like Manchester, which is the biggest city, it's definitely more city feeling. But like Keene, it's a city, but it's slower. Restaurants close pretty early. Public transportation is pretty minimal. And there's really not that much nightlife. There's a couple places in town, but not a ton. So if you like a really strong sense of community, a slower pace of life, and just beautiful nature, it's a great spot. But it is a lot slower pace than a lot of people think when they first come up here. It's just a great place for you, but I don't know, we don't have a ton of people, so that's why it's slower. So here's the bottom line. The truth is, living in New Hampshire in 2025, yeah, it is beautiful, it's safe, it's clean, and it's really a community and driven area. But it also comes with higher property taxes, real winners, and a lifestyle that isn't really for everyone, with a slower pace and not that big city feel some people still want while moving to a tiny state. But if you can handle those trade-offs and you do want that relaxed lifestyle, a little bit more flexible, community-driven areas, New Hampshire could be a great spot for you. You get the space, the freedom, and again, people who care about the community. So if you're looking to make a move to New Hampshire, like I said, I work right out of Keene. I service the Monadnock region, and I'd love to help you find the perfect house or community that would fit you. Or if you have any questions, you're a little bit more serious and would like to talk to me, feel free to go in the description below. I have a link to my calendar where you can book a free 15, 30-minute call. We'll discuss New Hampshire real estate, see how I can help you in those fields, maybe help you make the move from wherever you are to New Hampshire and start a new lifestyle. So without further ado, if this added some value, please hit that like and subscribe button. And if you're making a move to New Hampshire or looking at making a move, what's the biggest thing you're excited for or the biggest thing you're scared of? Drop that down below in the comments, and I'll catch you guys next week with another one. Thank you.